Today you went negative 60, you said?
Yeah.
So your stop was 6 points?
Um, fuck, even worse.
Wait, what
What?
happened?
Is 7 points on my first
Yeah,
loss.
did you get in before the news?
News was
6:45 and 7?
damn. I got in at 6:43.
That's what happened to me too. I got in right like a minute before news and I totally forgot. And as soon as I was in it, I was like, fuck, this is gonna not work for me.
I feel like we all saw the same shit though.
Yeah.
At least there's that.
Just that I completely forgot about news because I even seen your entry was like around 5 minutes before news. So
Yeah.
like all of our entries should have been not taken only based on the news. Even though I had a displacement and the pullback, um, because of the news, that's always just not putting um risk in my favor.
Dude,
And I
the
really
first I'll go first.
I'll go for it.
No, I was gonna say something else. It's not pertaining to what we were talking about. It's not important.
Oh, I was just gonna say, my I was looking at my whole month, and the first 2 weeks I was still taking auction based setups. So like the first 2 weeks of this month, I'm kind of like, okay, that already wasn't a good start because I realized that I had to stop taking those auction based setups, and
Okay,
then
wait.
the next.
What's an auction based setup? Because we're still taking the auction ranges. We're still doing the auction ranges, right?
Yeah, but I'm referring to no higher time frame.
Oh, okay. So like a no man's land.
Yeah, cuz like I'm still using all I was still using all the requirements to enter, but since there was no higher time frame, it's a higher chance of me getting faked out before the move actually would work.
Oh yeah.
So the first 2 weeks was completely just trying to get over stopping, like not trying
Nice
to take
freeze.
no man's land trades. And then the second
Oh,
week, I mean, the third week was me trying to figure out that whole acceptance idea. So, like, after it gets the pop, being patient for acceptance above after we get the displacement and then it pulls back, being patient for that acceptance above the auction level or in that auction range to show me that, like, okay, now it's time to enter. So a lot of those were early entries. And then the last 2 weeks, or last week I had super solid no red days, but then this week two of my lost days came because I took trades right before news.
mm.
So like reviewing my month like that, I'm like, okay, like there was obviously mistakes like doing the auction setups and then taking trades before news, but for the overall month, like I'm understanding that, like, okay, the first 2 weeks I was making the auction based setups, I adjusted that. Then it went to, okay, now I need to be more patient for the acceptance. I adjusted that. The third week was solid. And then this week I took two news trades, basically traded news. And now I'm like, okay, going into next week, I need to remember this whole thing with news. And also this week was FOMC, so it's kind of like a sloppy type of week. So I also have to be wary of that. Um, but I realized that a lot of the times when I journal my trades, even loss or win, right after the trade happens or like right before I go to work, I'm my mind is like, especially with losses, my mind is so like annoyed by the loss that I can't like how do I say objectively analyze what I did wrong because even today and the previous day that I lost, I didn't realize that I took those news trades until later on in the day when I reflected on it. And I was like, I really was like sat there objectively analyzing it. And I was like, okay, that's where the error was. I mean, personally, I've realized that when I journal them right after and I don't review or I don't think about what went wrong later in the day, I kind of am not super strict on myself on what error I made. I'm just
That's kind of
like,
crazy. That's kind of crazy you said that because I don't know if you noticed. I didn't really put my confirmations and stuff, and I didn't really label my trades because I noticed the same thing. When I would review right after I take a trade, I would just be like, "Well, my confirmations were here," and then on my review days when I go back to it, I'm like, "What the fuck? I made so many mistakes." It's
nah, I
crazy.
feel that. And I think it's because our minds are just like annoyed and frustrated with the situation that like you kind of just want to get it over with.
I'm when I'm labeling, I'm kind of not even thinking. I'm kind of on autopilot, to be
Yeah.
honest.
That's why I don't know if you guys realize like I'm usually journaling it into the Discord around like 2 p.m. like at my lunchtime because I'm like okay, this is the time where like I'm disconnected from the charts already so I can look at the charts and be like, "Oh, okay, this is where the error happened."
Yeah, sure.
Because even today when you journaled that trade, because I had gone for a walk and when I was walking is when I realized like, oh shit, I took it right into the news. And then when I came back, I had seen that you journaled your trade and you didn't mention anything about news and it was 5 minutes before news. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm going to mention that to them. That's why I'm even bringing this up because I've realized that like when I journal right away, I'm not as strict with myself.
yeah, for sure.
So that's something that to consider also.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
but I do think, I mean, like just looking at this month, I feel like we know like everything I said last week, it still applies. Like that you need the displacement, or first you need the auction, or first you need the higher time frame level, then you need the auction range to appear, then you need the displacement to appear. Then you need that pullback into the auction. And then being patient enough to get that confirmation of acceptance to take it to get into your position with
Right,
into CVD
right,
alone.
right there on the pullback and like the acceptance part is where I always get stopped. That's where the overthinking starts. It
And I
starts to mess
think
me up.
And I think that's gonna be the same thing I was having trouble with, where it was like truly understanding the acceptance. And I feel like this is barely starting to click for me, so I can see where like you're you guys still are like kind of shaky on it. Cause even last week or 2 weeks ago, I was a bit shaky on it, and I had to like sit down and really like deeply or like have like a like really
Journaling.
analyze my past trades and I was like trying to show exactly ChatGPT where like why is this happening, and it finally pointed out the idea of the acceptance, and that's when I was like, oh shit, like something else clicked at that moment. I'll just bring up screenshots right now. Reviews.
Maybe my eyes just aren't trained for the acceptance part yet.
Yeah. And honestly, after that clicked, I don't know. Something just the confidence just got even stronger for what I'm looking for. Um, Look, I didn't organize it yet. Trading. Okay.
How do you feel, Eloy?
My main red flag on both my trades where if I did find the correct auction zone, I didn't wait for a displacement to confirm any entries, and so on both losses, there's no displacement,
Same for me.
and it was two
I was a
different
patient.
locations.
Yeah.
When it comes to the displacement, do you guys think? Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Like, this is one thing I've also been working on, is like as the market's falling. So this is the gap fill level, the 74. I mean, yeah, 74.47, and then this is my daily demand, which is this green line here. So in my mind, this gap fill to like this daily demand was an area that I wanted to watch for potential opportunity, because I was like, okay, this is a daily demand, and then with the gap fill here, I was like, this whole area can be an area that potentially buyers try to step in, even a bit lower. But then as market was falling, I was seeing that CBD was already starting to rally. And as buyers started to show their presence here, I was like, okay, so there is some potential of buyers showing interest here, but I still was being super patient for the daily demand. But then one thing that I like to do is when I see the auction range starting to build up, so in this case, even looking up above, we had this 439, which was sticking out. We had, that was really the only number that was sticking out as price was falling. And then once we got here, you start to see this buildup of buying occur. And you can see 221 up here, and then you can see 344 over here. So when I see this range starting to build up, in my mind, I'm like, okay, where's the biggest number? Is it up above or is it down below? And now once I identify that, okay, the bigger number is down below, and I can confidently say this is the auction range, now I'm telling myself I need to see price displace away from this 344. I want to see the 6 point push
Oh, so the
from the
displacement
larger
starts
number.
at the biggest number?
Yeah.
That's what I was confused about. I think I
Yeah,
asked you this a few days ago, a few weeks ago, or some shit.
because then I'm like, okay, this is where the true intention initially or really is. It's from this large number. So now I want to see that this large number creates a push away, because that's where the buyers are initiated their interest. So then as I go down, you can see here, look at, so price came down into the daily demand, and then it formed an auction range down here too, but it wasn't as reliable. So because look at how it was 201, 209, 257, but I was like, damn, this 257 is pretty close to 300 with the 209 here. So I was like, this could work. But then I started questioning it, and I just passed on it. And as price was rallying, I was like, okay, now we're coming back into this auction range that's still within my level of interest here. And look at how the number is still large at the lower portion. So as price got into it, I was like, okay, I want to see a 6 point push, at least 5 to 6 point push, at least, to push away from this 300 delta. So then I get that push, and the numbers still stay the same. So now I'm waiting for that pullback into the auction range. And this is where either you're going to be patient or you're going to trust the what you're seeing, because now I'm seeing sellers pulling price back into it, and I see that we slightly break above it, but then look at how fast buyers pop the market back up right at my auction low, the low of the range. And so right when I see that, I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. I got the 6 point displacement, price pulls back, buyers show their interest again. So I instantly push buy, and I set my stop underneath the obviously the auction range, but I also set it underneath the the low that price had made here. I didn't even acknowledge this limit order, to be honest. Like I was just like, okay, I'm setting my stop underneath that low. After I did realize like, oh shit, there's a limit order here. But I liked that we held the bottom of the auction. So this is what I mean by the next what I'm about to say is what I mean by acceptance. This here is where you can be more patient. Obviously, your risk is going to be a little larger, but the confirmation is a lot more reliable here because I entered. I would consider where I entered an aggressive entry, but I'm able to have a very good stop here, and I'm still getting confirmation of the auction holding because price pulls back, it holds the bottom of the low, and then I get in. But I still have to be wary. The reason like I set it a little lower than just having it right underneath the auction is because I know that price has already tried to break underneath. Um, so I need to be cautious that my entry is aggressive and I haven't got full acceptance yet because I don't get that full acceptance until this pullback here. And the reason I know it's stronger acceptance is because look at how we made this 6 point displacement. Sellers try to break, we make a new higher low, and then on this next push, look at how we make a higher high above the previous 6 point displacement. So that's proving to us that buyers truly wanted to push the market higher than what it previously got. So now on this next pullback, it definitely holds above the auction range. And now I get a cleaner opportunity of, or a cleaner proof that that buyers want to hold this. So I get long here, but I still have to set my stop underneath this auction because there's potential of on this pullback, price drops into here and then rallies out. So I still want to set my stop underneath. But this is giving me a cleaner confirmation because we made that higher high above the previous 6 point displacement. Then sellers try, they hold, then we make another higher high. So then on this next pullback, this is even more confirmation of acceptance because we continue to make higher highs as buyers are pushing this above the auction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the true acceptance. Where I got in, it's still a valid entry. Just you need to be aware that okay, I'm being aggressive on this entry, and I'm just trusting that sellers attempted to break the auction here. They didn't, and buyers got super like you can even see on how the sweep was here. Buyers got super aggressive again at the bottom of the range. So I'm like, okay, this is an aggressive entry, but I'm okay with it. And now once I'm in the trade, I'm looking at like, okay, are buyers going to continue to make a higher high here above the previous high? Or say for example, they didn't get above the previous high and it pulls back. I'm not gonna exit out of my trade or I'm not gonna like panic too hard, but I am gonna be a little worried because it's like, okay, buyers aggressively tried to push this higher and they failed to make another high here. I don't care if they just like slightly poked above. I just want to continue to see that buyers are making progress.
Yeah.
So that's where the acceptance really comes into play. So this these two pullbacks here are more like the stop is larger, so that's where it sucks. But the confirmation is a lot cleaner. And then if we look at what NQ was doing at that time, NQ was had just slightly missed the daily demand, but you also have to take into consideration that daily demands, institutional levels aren't gonna get in right at the daily demand all the time. They'll like get in slightly above and front run it. So that's something I've noticed over time with daily demands in particular. But then as that reclaim or yeah the reclaim of the auction was happening here, uh, NQ was trying to reclaim its 90-minute demand also. So then once I'm in the trade, what is this 7:50? What time was this? So this is like 7 maybe 50. When all this was happening, it was probably like 753, 754. So we're still inside of this candle as all that's happening. But then once I'm in the trade, you can then see that now NQ starts to hold this 90-minute demand, and then we finally push out of it. So as this is happening, I'm feeling pretty confident in my trade because I'm like, okay, NQ's reclaiming this 90-minute demand pretty cleanly. ES is starting to reclaim this gap fill pretty cleanly. And then my target was, I don't remember. My target actually was just 10 points. I've just been pretty scared about holding my trades past 10 points because of what happened to me last week. But there was still potential to hold this a little longer. I think it was 74.60 because of a delta that I seen at 74.60.
I want to do like 11 points a trade just so I get an even 50.
Yeah, me too. I hate when it goes like 47 or 43.
That shit pisses me off.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about acceptance. I'm sure I have another example here. So here my auction. Oh, and the same thing. Look at how. Let me see where the auction starts. The price was falling down here, and as it's falling, I see that we get a auction build up here, 700 delta, and then we get the 241 underneath. So I'd mark my auction range to be that 700, the 241. So about 74.37 to 74.35. And then if you calculate 37 price drops in or price drops underneath the auction, I'm sure the delta built up around here because that's where it looks like all the buying started happening. So then you get a push out of this 37, but it only pops up into 74.40, and that's only 3 points. So on this pullback that occurs here, there's no reason for me to get antsy about getting in long because I haven't had that first. I got the daily demand zones right here. I got my auction range, my level of interest, and the reason this one really stuck out was because this was 700 delta, right, almost above, like, what is this, 3 points, no, 5 points above my daily demand zone. So to me, that's like, okay, this is a valid area where institutions would want to start building their position. And like I said on the previous one, when it's a daily demand zone, they like to build up a little earlier. So then I got the two things, my higher time frame zone, which is right here. Then I have my auction level. Now the next thing I'm waiting for is my displacement. So as price pushes away, I want it to push away 5 to 6 points. It doesn't push away 5 to 6 points. So as it's pulling back, I just remain patient. I'm just like, all right, it's not time yet. It's probably going to come down to test the daily demand. So I stay patient. And then now, after price pulls back to the daily demand, look at what happens. Price buyers aggressively pop up again. And I'm still looking at this auction 70 the 700 that was here. But this time, as buyers show up, now they push away the 7 points. And here they do push away, what is that, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. That's only 4 points. So then it pulls back slightly, then it pops up higher, and finally we get that, what is that, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 8 points right here. So this is an 8 point displacement. Oh, my number's right there. I'm an idiot. So it's an 8 point displacement, and now it's pulling back. And now I want to see the acceptance above the auction range. But this is where I made the mistake, and this is what we were just talking about, Eloy. As price pulls back to the auction range and it popped up aggressively, I entered up here at like the 41s, and my stop had to be underneath the auction range, which would put me at about 34 if I really wanted it underneath the auction. So 34 to 41, that's way too large of a stop for me to even be entering up here. I honestly should have accepted that I missed this and not got antsy and pushed the buy button here. So I made the error of, yeah, this is showing me acceptance because it pulls back and it holds the auction range, but I couldn't execute it on time to set a good enough stop. So I almost have to just accept like, okay, that it is what it is. I missed that. But then as price pops up, I ended up getting stopped on this. And one thing I was gonna point out was price didn't make a higher high in this case. It just like slightly missed it. So when I seen that happen, as I was in the trade, I was like, "Fuck, this is gonna go against me." Because remember how on the previous trade I was saying I want to see that buyers are showing that they want to make progress. In this case, they tried to make progress and they instantly got shut down. So, like I said, I'm not gonna just exit early because this happens. I'm still gonna hold my position, and because I didn't want to set my stop too large, I would have still been in this trade if I would have technically, like, say I got filled at 37 and set my stop underneath the 35s. I would have technically still been in this trade. So you don't want to just exit because it doesn't make a higher high. You still want to valid, like the trade is still valid at this moment until it breaks under the auction. So in this case, it stops me out because my stop wasn't underneath the auction range. And now, as price pops back up again, this is the same thing that I mentioned earlier, where this is a bit of an aggressive entry because, yes, we got this one acceptance, we pull back. But what made me confident about it was how strong the buyers stepped back in here. So as soon as I seen buyers get back above 74.37, I was like, okay, this acceptance that occurred here is still playing here. And look at how quick the sellers came in and then buyers instantly popped it again. And looking at CVD, we were making a higher low as this pullback was happening. So that's what gave me confidence to be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get in if we get back above 74.37. So I get in, set my stop. Now I have a better opportunity to set my stop a little lower. So I kind of set it closer to the low here, but not fully at the low. And then now, say I didn't get in on this and I wanted to be more cautious, I could wait for another pullback. And now I'm getting, this is three levels of acceptance here. We got one acceptance, then the pop back above is another acceptance, and then this pullback here is another acceptance, especially the fact of how it held above the auction. So this is probably the safest entry if you got in on this push here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I said a lot there.
This is
That makes
exactly
sense.
this is exactly what I've been like just studying, and this is more repetition of it.
And then on top of that, it's just as price is pulling back here. This is at right before 7:05. Looking at NQ, so this is 7, and then so NQ was holding the bottom of this 2-hour demand zone. Yeah, it doesn't tap anything in particular, but it's showing buyers wanting to push it up higher inside the demand zone. So that's just adding confirmation to what I'm seeing. Looking at ES, it kind of just wicks at that daily demand zone. SPY was kind of looking a little sketchy here, but once I was in the trade, I liked how we were reclaiming pre-market low, and then VX was struggling to break that 45-minute supply. But it goes back to what we've been saying in the past, where it's like you don't have to be so antsy to get in. It's just our emotions, especially like today when I got in right at the news. It was like I didn't really have to do that. Like I could have just been a little more patient. Because you can even see here when it is a valid setup, you're gonna get that good. Oh, and then remember how I said I want to focus on the displacement away from the larger number. So here's the 600, and then I calculate as price is rallying. Okay, I want to see it push that 6 points away from that larger number. So in this case, it wasn't a 6 point push from 35, it was a 6 point push from 37. And
Mm.
then that does end up happening. But you can see that you could have been patient on this and didn't have to get in right away. Of course, sometimes you are going to get that little quick wick down to the auction and then it pops up and takes off super fast, which will suck and will emotionally scar us. But you do have more opportunities to enter still once you get clearer confirmation. And that's one thing that Chat GPT's told me about the difference between a auction based setup and a higher time frame setup is that with auction based setups, you need more confirmation of the acceptance. So with a daily demand or like a higher time frame demand, once you get that 8 point displacement and that pullback, you can get in on that quick little down that holds the auction range, that first test. You just have to make sure you don't get in up here like I did, because now you're kind of chasing the move. But if you get in down here at the 37s, 38s, and you set your stop at 34, that's 4 point stop still. You're still able to sit through this pullback and not get stopped out. So you can get in on the first acceptance on a higher time frame zone. But when it comes to auction based setups, you need that to be even more patient of that acceptance, and you need to see this happen more, like the two test, the triple test of the auction range, so that you don't get faked out. Because a lot of times what was happening to me with auction based setups is I would get in on this hold here, but then because it's not a higher time frame level, it'll pull back, stop me out, chop a little bit, then finally take off. And that's why I was like, okay, let me just avoid that, because I want to be confident with that pullback into the auction range and be comfortable with getting in long on that first test, seeing acceptance. So that's why I completely threw auction based setups to the side. I don't even journal them anymore, to be honest. Like, I'm just focused on these here.
And so just because it tapped the daily, that's enough for you to be like, to look for the setup outside of the daily. That's enough for you to be like, it's not going to go deeper into it.
No, the thing that first what sticks out to me as price is falling, I get this auction buildup right above daily demand. So this 700 to 241. Now say this was just 200 and 241 here, not 700. Then I'm going to be a little more like, I'm not comfortable with that. But this 700 is like an outlier. It's bigger than anything I see up here. So once I see that 700, I'm like, okay, there's someone trying to buy this here. And then you can even see that they're showing their presence on the way the bubbles look. So the fact that it's a daily demand right underneath, and I have the auction based or the auction range built up right above it, that's the first confirmation to me, or the first sign to me that there's a potential opportunity here. Then as price pulls down lower, oh, but also remember, when I see this, I'm trying to calculate the displacement. So just because I see buyers pop up here, it wasn't a 5 to 6 point displacement. It was just like a 4 point displacement. So to me, it's like, yeah, there's 700 delta, but they didn't show true intent. Like, they showed intent, but they didn't show true intent. So now, as it's pulling back, I'm like, let me just be a little more patient. Let me not just try to get in because there's an auction level here. So now I wait a little, and now we get this pullback down here. So once I see this pullback happening, I'm telling myself, okay, there's a possibility that either we drop down into daily demand, but there's also a possibility that we just tap it and we reclaim this 700 delta that had appeared. So to make sure that I'm thinking of this correctly, now I'm looking at CVD and I can see that CBD was already starting to rally here. And then I look at NQ and I see that NQ is inside of my demand zone. So I'm like, okay, that idea that this 700 delta could be a valid auction level is even more is stronger now. So now once we get this push here, now I'm like, okay, we're getting back above this 700 delta. Now let me see, do we get the displacement that I need? So now once I see the 8 point displacement, I'm like, okay, this is true intent. Like there's no denying that. We got more than 6 points. We got an 8 point displacement. So now on the pullback, that's when I could be I almost got a little too aggressive here because I chased it, but I can be aggressive and get in on the hold above the auction. But I just have to remember that I need to set my stop underneath the auction here. But
Yeah.
when price is coming down to the auction range, I'm calculating in my head like, okay, if I push buy as soon as price gets to 74.37, there's a possibility that I'm not going to get filled at 74.37. There's a possibility that I get filled at 74.38. So as the price is falling, I'm thinking this. I'm telling myself, okay, if I get filled at 74.38, am I okay with setting my stop underneath 74.35? And I'll tell myself like, okay, that's 4 point stop. I can live with that risk. So then I could get a little I could hit the buy button once I see buyers step in. Because remember, I'm not getting in just because it taps the auction. I'm getting in when I see that it taps the auction and then buyers step back in. That's why I'm saying I might not get filled at 74.37. I might get filled at 74.38, 75 because I'm waiting for those buyers to show me that they want to push this up again. So by waiting for that, I'm gonna get filled like at 38.75, and I have to be okay with setting my stop underneath the auction here, which is a 4.75 stop, and I'm okay with going long there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have to really think like, okay, I'm not gonna get filled exactly the price I want to get filled at because I need to wait for those buyers to show up. So am I okay with waiting to get filled at 38 and setting my stop underneath the auction?
It sounds so easy. Like I could see it perfectly, but fuck. It's so hard.
But like when it comes to that one thing I've realized with like your trades, Gabriel, is that, and maybe this is what makes it hard, that you don't like, you can see here, I'm drawing out the 8 point displacement. So the fact that I
Yeah,
draw this out
I usually don't wait for the displacement sometimes. Most of the time.
and see the fact that I actually like draw it on my chart here, it's almost like my mind as the next days come, it's like my mind knows because I physically drew the line in the past 5, 10 trades and I've seen the displacement happen and then I see the pullback. It's like my mind already knows like there has to be a displacement or else I can't take it.
Yeah, but I was still confused of where the displacement started. That's why I was like, I was just
Yeah.
trying different shit.
Yeah, so that's almost I probably started doing that maybe like three 3 weeks, probably in the beginning of the month. I was like, okay, it seems like the trusting the larger number and calculating the displacement from the larger number is where the better displacement comes from. And then just going back to another A setup that I have here, I probably didn't draw the displacement on this one. Yeah, I didn't, but you can still see it here. Where's the auction? I didn't get a clean one of this one, but you can see here there's 1,000 delta. So this is also a reclaim setup of the 45-minute pre-market demand here. So as sellers are breaking through this, there's no real displacement. I don't even know if there's a real auction level to trust here. Oh, actually, this auction level this 1,000, I think, came from pre-market. So as price gets down into here, I never get any kind of displacement away from the delta. So there is no reason for me to even have interest of getting long anywhere around here. I'm tripping right now because market didn't open until over here. Um, but once
Dude,
price rallies above the 1,000 lots here, you can see we get from 67. I'll even call this 68 because it's above 67.50. So from 68, I want to see a push away that's at least 6 points. So 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75. So that's a 7 point displacement here. And I'll draw it. Right there, we get a 7 point displacement from the 74.68. So the 1,000 lots here. Let me just put that. The 1,000 lots there. Price pushes 7 points. And now on this pullback, I want to see that we hold the bottom of the auction here. And as soon as price sweeps like this, and this is the things you guys have to replay. I mean, we could replay it again right now too, but it's when that shallow pullback happens, the way these buyers present themselves, that's what you have to get used to because you might see the shallow pullback happening and you're like, oh, is it going to come down to the bottom of the auction range? But this is where you have to be okay with just putting the risk on because buyers quickly sweep the price back up. And now I'm comfortable with my stop here because I get in at 74.71, set my stop underneath these 67s. So I most likely set it like at 66. So that's 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71. That's a 5 point stop. And then I'm targeting this in this case, the 81s. But then once price got to the 81s, it kind of popped up a little higher into the 85s. This was a pretty solid one. But see how even in this case, look at how say I didn't want to get risky here or be aggressive because again, this is an aggressive entry because I haven't got full acceptance yet. So say I wanted to be a little more patient and now as price rallies, look at what it does. It makes a higher high and now it's telling us, okay, buyers are truly making progress in this case. So we popped up the 7 points, pulled back, buyers show up again, they make progress, and then when they pull back again, they still hold the auction level. So you could have even got in around 7. I mean, this is a lot farther actually. 6, 7, 6, 9, 7, 71. This is still a decent opportunity though. If you got in at 71s and set your stop right underneath the 67.50s, that's about a 5 point stop still. I just had my stop a little lower. But so you can get in on this shallow or this next pullback. And the reason I would be comfortable with it is because, like I said, we got the 7 point displacement from the outlier. And then you get the higher high showing that buyers are actually making progress. And that's the key here. When you want to see acceptance, you want to see that after price pushes up, they make some kind of progress. And then on that next pullback, you can be a little more comfortable with getting in.
Damn.
But even then, I'm just thinking like, could you have gotten in around here? But I think that stop is now way too far. That's 76. Yeah, that's way too, I wouldn't be comfortable with that one.
So
Like if I waited for this here, because now my stop has to be underneath 67, and that's
that's
like
a whole lot.
yeah, that's a whole trade right there almost.
Yeah, whole short
So
trade.
I wouldn't want to do that one. So you almost have to be aggressive with this specific one. And there's another thing for you to consider when prices coming in to reclaim a demand zone. So say it's not dropping down into the demand zone, it actually dropped underneath the demand zone and now it's trying to reclaim it. That you can, as long as you see the displacement away and then the pullback hold the bottom of the auction, you can get in inside the auction setting your stop underneath. Sometimes it is going to be like very volatile and it'll like sweep down to the bottom and then reclaim. So that's why I'm saying this entry is aggressive, because it could slightly break underneath. And that's also why I set my stop a little lower underneath these limit orders, just to protect myself from that. Um, but when it's reclaiming the level, you almost don't have to wait for it to get above the auction range, because you're getting that as long as you're getting that displacement away from the large number, you could get in on that next pullback and then get an aggressive entry and set your stop underneath. But when price is coming down into the demand zone, you don't really want to do that. You want to see the acceptance above the zone. It also depends on how large the range is, because in this case, I set my range pretty large. Like, I'm thinking about it here. The 500 here is what I used, and the 1,000 down here. But really, look at the 900 right here. So I could have done the auction range be this area instead. And then get that. Say I use this one here. It pulls back, and look at where it holds. It holds right at the, or it never tests it. The reclaims are a little tougher. I'm not gonna lie, because I still kind of get thrown off by it sometimes.
Yeah, that's where it fucked me up.
But the main thing, no matter what, if whether it's reclaiming or dropping into it, is see where that large number is, and then watch for that push away from the number. Be at least 5 to 8 point displacement. It could obviously be larger, but as long as on that next pullback you hold the bottom of the auction, you that's you got to put the risk on and set your stop underneath the low. Where I'm like definitive, like, okay, I need to try it, is as soon as I see that displacement away. That's why the displacement to me is like almost one of the most important things after, like, to understand my entry. The displacement is like that key part where I can start to build the idea for my entry. Without that displacement, there's no reason for me to even think of getting into a position. I think that'll allow you to be a lot more, I guess, patient or like strict with, okay, I'm not entering because I haven't got that displacement.
Yeah.
What's this one? It's a B minus, but I don't know why. So here, the large auction, or the large auction was the 767, right at the 75.17 area. My supply was up here like at the 22s, and then I set it up here to the 75.25s because it comes into my supply zone at the 358 auction. So it's this 767 to like this 358. I didn't use this 395 because it was still outside of my supply zone. So I wanted to see price reclaim my supply zone because I was looking for ways to get long. And then I believe my entry was aggressive here. Okay, so look at here. I used the larger number, like I said, the 700 delta. I was watching to see if price would reclaim that, or price would displace away from that 700 delta and then reclaim the supply zone. So here you can see price pulls back, and then it displaces away the 8 points from the 700 delta. And then, like I said, I wanted to see a reclaim of the supply zone. It was a bit aggressive because I was like, okay, we're holding the bottom of, or yeah, the bottom of the supply zone. So let me just get in long. But I had a decent stop because it was underneath the auction, and it ended up work. Did it? Yeah, it ended up working because look at how I could have been a little more patient still. So I got the 8 point displacement. Price pulled back to the bottom of the supply zone. I got in long just because I seen us holding the supply zone, but technically price still was able to trade through the auction slightly. And then because I had my stop underneath the auction, I was able to stay in this trade. I just didn't take profits where I should have when the 700 delta seller appeared. But if I would have been a little more patient, I could have waited for the better acceptance above here and then got in long 75.22 to 75.32 even. That was still so I got in aggressively when I didn't necessarily have to, and I could have waited for the acceptance here. But see how even in this case, no matter what, that's where I could have been more patient to get in. But in this case, no matter what, I still needed that 8 point displacement away from the bottom of that 700 delta that had appeared there. So the key thing here was still that displacement from the 700 delta. It was around my key level, and then on the pullback, it
You must have
holds
been
the
shitting
bottom of the
yourself.
what?
You must have been shitting yourself there.
Yeah, I was. I really was because I knew as soon as I entered, I was like, "Fuck, this shit could still drop." Um, but honestly, when I have my stop like this and it's at a key level, like I'm scared when it's doing this, but I'm still kind of like confident. Let me see what NQ is doing here because NQ will even be another level of confidence. Yeah, see here, NQ had bounced off a 45-minute demand zone that happened in pre-market, and look at how aggressive the bounce was. So once I seen that we were getting this bounce off of the 45-minute, plus the VWAP was here, plus pre-market low, that's 3 layers of support on NQ as price is trying to reclaim the 2 hour supply. So I wasn't just getting long here because I'm thinking like, oh, price needs to reclaim the 2 hour supply. It's like the NQ added to my thesis of why the 2 hour supply should be getting reclaimed.
Mm.
And then I'm sure CVD also. Look at CVD on this push up. So we hadn't reclaimed 2 hour supply yet, but look at as price uh, or buyers showed their presence, this aggressive push on the 2 hour supply was my like adding to that thesis. So I had NQ holding a 3 different levels of support. Uh, this buying on the CVD was super aggressive. Even the buying on the um, bubbles was super aggressive. The auction was getting reclaimed. The 2 hour supply was getting reclaimed. So it was just like multiple levels as to why I'd rather long this than short this.
Yeah.
Were you right?
And this was just B minus because of how I entered it. It was just way too aggressive. I was a bit disappointed. And then even looking at where my entry was, look at how CVD was just stalling. So that's also a red flag that like, okay, don't just get in just because we got this aggressive push and we're holding 2 hour supply. Like let CVD align with that also. And then once price did dip underneath, CVD makes a higher low, and then you get that opportunity to get long. Um, but yeah, I mean, saying this now, like you said, it does seem super obvious. So it's like reviewing it in real time is where the real
challenges.
Yeah. But you got any questions, Eloy, or anyone?
No, dude, this is literally. I started reviewing on my own again, and this is some of what like I tell myself what you're saying, but like it's cool to hear it in other words and like just other ways to examine it. That's helping add to my theories and my thoughts, my ideas. But
I
my bad, you go.
I think I think knowing the displacement when it starts is going to be helpful
Yeah,
because now I'm not gonna be lost for the pullback and the acceptance part. Or at least it shouldn't. Hopefully.
that makes
Like,
sense.
let go for it.
I was gonna say because yeah, today it helped out that the idea was the displacement from the big delta, and not necessarily the delta range.
Yeah.
That helped. That made sense at
What
least.
was today? I don't. My trade ended up working later, but I don't remember. Was it? Oh yeah, it was 1,000 lot that appeared. Did I take a photo of it? Okay, it's right here. Uh, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm calculating this right. So this was originally the thousand here, the 7465, and it came from this large buyer that appeared right when we reclaimed back inside this 45-minute low here that I just circled. So this was the 1,000 lots that appeared, and then price tried to push away, but it never gave me a decent displacement here. So in this case, it only stops right there, and then it pulls back. And now on this pullback, you can see how aggressive sellers tried to get here. And then look at what buyers instantly do. They instantly push price back away from the 1,000
Delta.
lots. So, yeah, from the large delta. Let me just that. So now here I get the displacement, but this time I was looking at this 1,000 lot as the area that I wanted price to pull back to. But I also had this auction range that I had formed prior to seeing this 1,000 lot. It came from earlier. So once I seen the displacement away, I was like, okay, I want to see a pullback come back down to the 1,000 lots, but it never came back to the 1,000 lots. It swept the bottom of this auction level, and then buyers instantly got super aggressive again, and they popped back above. So now I'm telling myself, okay, here it was, let's say 63 to 74. So that's about 10 11-point displacement right there. Let me just write that. And because it didn't come back to the 1,000 lots, I couldn't get long because I had taken a loss already, and it was $36 loss. So my max loss would get hit if my stop was more than 2.5 points, I think. So I was very cautious of what my max loss was, and I was like, I can't have a stop that's larger than 3 points or larger than 2.5 points. So once I got this 11-point displacement, I seen this pullback happen, and then once I seen this strong push again, I told myself, "Fuck, why can't I remember my trade right now?" Hold up. I got in a 74.70. So yeah, it was that one. 756. So I got in like right here. Oh shit. Oh shit. And it let me draw. I got in like right there on the next pullback that occurred. And the reason was because remember how I said I got the 11-point displacement, price pulls back, and I couldn't get the long entry because if I would have gotten long anywhere around here, my stop would have had to be underneath the 1,000 lots. That would have put me at like 63, 667. That would have put me like at a 4 point stop if I got in on the reclaim of this uh auction here. So I was like, okay, I can't chase this. So then I see price push up and look at how it makes a higher high from the previous 11-point displacement. So like I said last time, I'm seeing buyers make progress on their buying here. So now I see another push away here and I'm telling myself, okay, that's I don't remember if the price. I gotta see this. I just want to make sure I'm saying this correctly. I'm trying to identify what the auction range was for that. Why I made that box, and I can't get the fucking. I didn't take screenshots of it. Okay, I don't know where the larger number was on this auction range here, but when price pushes away,
Did
let's
you
say
play
it
it?
was the bottom. What?
Oh, I thought you can replay it. Are you on a screenshot? Oh, you're on a
This is
screenshot.
a screenshot. Uh, let's say it was the high. Let's say the high number was the top of the auction range. So that's 73, 74, 75, 76, 78, 79, 80. That's 6 points here. So if I'm using the top of that auction range as the high number, that's an 8 point displacement from the that high there. So now buyers again showed me that they want to make progress, and then I see this aggressive sell off happen, but we hold that same area that the previous low was. So in my eyes, I'm like, okay, this auction range is seeming like it's valid. I'm getting acceptance up inside of that auction. So as soon as we pop back up with this strong buying here, I get long, setting my stop underneath the auction range. So I set my stop like about 66. No, I set it a little. It's like three. I think it was 3 points. I think I set it like right at the line or something like that. But then it was an aggressive entry, but there was some kind of emotion involved in this trade because of the last loss. I think I do have to say that. But then as price rallied, I seen that this time we didn't make a higher low. I mean a higher high. We actually got stuck there. So then as price pulled back, I was like, fuck, I'm probably gonna get stopped. And then price tries one more time, and again it doesn't make a higher low. I mean a higher high. So this time, once I seen that, I was like, I need to move my stop to break even because this isn't gonna work. Buyers are not showing the same progress that they showed over here. So now I set my stop at break even and I got stopped right here. But then look at how price ends up pulling back right to the 1,000 lot that was originally being tested. And now we finally got that push all the way up to the 85s where I initially was targeting.
So let's
So
say it pulls back to that 1,000 watt buyer delta buyer. Are you waiting for another displacement if you're trying to get in again?
no, once I get this displacement, that's all I need. Once I got that displacement, that was all I needed. Now, as price, I should have just not got in here and waited for price to come test that 1,000 lots, but I was unsure if that was going to happen, to be honest. So I kind of got, that's why I'm saying there was some emotion involved with this entry. Um, but I managed it accordingly. Just that price did end up pulling back. So as soon as it pulls back here, as soon as I see an aggressive attempt from buyers, look at how it sweeps. You can even, like, there's no bubbles. It just super fast sweep up. I would have to get in at like the 66s, 67s, setting my stop underneath the threes here. And it's all based on the fact that we got this displacement away from the 1,000 lots that started right here. Pushes away, super aggressive. Buyers show in their that they're trying to make or they are making progress. Price pulls back aggressively, holds. Buyers try again, they struggle. Then selling steps in again aggressively. And once we hold that 1,000 lot, as long as we get back above it, it is an aggressive entry, I won't lie, but I would want to get in around the 67s here. This looks like a fucking football play.
It does.
I mean, is there a specific one you guys want to watch? I've gone over like 5 screenshots of different trades.
Anyone, I don't care.
I'll do like the more that one. That one was a little more complicated, but I'll do like a more cleaner one. All right, this one. This is the 20. Why do I have two? Okay, I think it's that one. But I would say on the next few trading days, or even the next trades you do take, like draw out that displacement because your mind will like just lock it in differently.
Yeah, I'm gonna start labeling up like that.
And that's why I've even done this to make my journaling. I don't know if you guys realize, like, whenever I do the journal now, I have this like written down in my notes. So now whenever I do my journal, I just copy paste it into the Discord location. So that's my higher time frame zone, the delta, the auction range, the displacement, the shallow pullback, the CVD, the NQ, and then acceptance is kind of where like I provide the reason why I was seeing acceptance there. I mean, that one's not as necessary, but because I was trying to lock in the idea of acceptance for me, I wrote it as a number. But I would even like just write this in your notes so that you don't have to always type it out and just use that as your reasons for entering a trade. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's the location, the delta auction, the displacement, making sure you wait for that shallow pullback, have CVD aligned, and have NQ aligned.
You don't have VX as a confirmation anymore?
I mean, it is, but like today, I was seeing that I was ignoring it and I was watching it rally the whole time and we were just selling off. So, like, in hindsight, I do feel like it is important, but I don't use it as like one of those stronger zones because honestly, I've been writing what the VX was for every single day. And what I realized is the past maybe 2 months, it's been chilling between what is it? My tree. I can't remember the numbers right now. I think it's
Like around 20-ish. 20-ish and under.
It's between 17 and 19.
Yeah.
Because on the journal that I made, I have this little VX option here, and you can select, was it under 16, was it between 17 19, was it 20 to 23 or more than 23? And every time I've been doing between 17 to 19. So that is one thing that I realized about VX. But oh yeah, 74.31. All right, so I'm gonna just fast forward this. I did have a 90-minute at 74.43, but there was nothing in the auction that was appearing. 74.43, 25. There was nothing in the auction that was appearing here that gave me a reason to have that be a level to get long at. So I kind of just avoided it the whole time. Right now, I'm just looking to see if anything is sticking out in the auction. So this is the 6:30 a.m. open. So from the whole open, there's no numbers here that are really sticking out. They're all around the same levels. 226 is the highest, but it's pretty evenly distributed. Still going down further, nothing sticks out. Nothing, still everything's about the same. So here I am seeing a 400 delta. Oh, but I expand it and it's about 399. So maybe right here I'd be like, okay, is this something? But I'm aware that this is a 90-minute pre-market, so I'm not really interested in this as a level, but I will just tell myself like, okay, there's potentially something here. I'd probably mark it to like 170 there. But now if I'm seeing this, remember the first thing I'm asking myself is, am I seeing a displacement away? So far, I haven't seen the displacement. The larger number is, what is it, 74.47. So this is 4 points. 5, 6. So here's a 6-point displacement. Now I'm telling myself, okay, maybe there is something if it comes back, but I'm not just gonna jump the gun just because it came back.
When do you negate the displacement?
As soon as I see the delta, I don't know what negate means actually. What are you telling me?
Like when you cancel the displacement.
Oh,
how many
it's when
points
it
does it
comes.
have to be?
It has to come back first, and then I determine what do buyers show that same intent again?
Okay. So it doesn't really matter how big the displacement, as long as 6 points are higher.
That's right. Say that again. I turned on my fan.
So it doesn't matter how many points the displacement is as long as it's over 6 points over.
Yeah, 5 to 6 points is what I want to see. And then once I see that, and I see that large, first I see that large auction, then I see that 6 point displacement at least, or 5 to 6 points. Then I'm telling myself, okay, now I'm watching for that pullback. But when it pulls back, I need to see in that true intent. What I was gonna check was their news listing. This is the 24th because we're right near news time. See, on this day there was 6:45 a.m. news and there was 7 a.m. news. So honestly, just because we have this displacement, I would still be cautious because we are so close to the news information, and that's one thing I have to work on right now at my current moment. Look at 7 a.m. is right here, 6:45. So this rally is actually happening off of 6:45 a.m. PMI news. So that's another thing. Like, if news is 5 minutes away, or if we have this like 6:45, 7 a.m. news, you have to be really cautious to not let the displacement like trick you, because this could just be a news driven push and not a true displacement that we need. And already here I'm finding it interesting that we're building some buying 300, 400, and now buyers I think start to struggle here. So really here, as price is coming back, I'm actually should be telling myself like, okay, don't let this shallow pullback trick you into getting in long, because we have 7 a.m. news 10 minutes away. And look at what happens. We get a strong flush through the auction that I had just marked. And now look at what happens to the auction here. The 400 disappeared. There's no reason for this to even be an auction almost anymore, because there's no outlier anymore. So that's why I'm saying you have to wait for that pullback to the auction and then see if buyers are still showing that true intent. But because of how close we are to 7 a.m. news, I'm right now just like, all right, let me just sit sidelines. Like this isn't something I want to be trading.
So you negate the auction?
Yes. Negate means to cancel, right?
Yeah, like cancel it.
I'm never gonna forget that now. Yes, I negate the auction.
All right.
I need to be careful.
So now, as price is coming down, now I'm telling myself, okay, I have this daily demand lower, which is even more important than this 90-minute demand I had. So that was also like mentally in my head, like, don't get too tricked by this 90-minute demand. Like, you still have this daily demand that could be even of more importance. But one thing I would tell myself is, say I do get long down here, as prices pushing up, like I'm aware of this 300 delta here. So once, say I get long at 32s or 35s, like I'm going to consider these 47s as a potential target, because this is somewhere that buyers are going to have to reclaim.
Yeah.
So now as we start to drop, now I'm looking for another auction range to form.
I do kind of like when price goes below like an auction range and then like reclaims it aggressively.
Yeah. Yes, I do too. But in that case, you need you need that displacement to occur still.
Yeah.
time did that? So we still haven't even hit 7 a.m. news. Let me actually put this up here. 424 right here. So this auction built up around 6:55. Around 6:55 is when we got the outlier to appear. I'm gonna fast forward a bit. So right now, right before 6:55, all we have is 200 uh, delta dollars right here. So there's still nothing that's sticking out yet. Okay, now we're after 6:55 here. And now I'm telling myself like, okay, we're getting close to this daily demand. And remember how I said at this time NQ was already inside its 2 hour pre-market demand. So I was watching to see like, okay, as we get to this daily demand, is NQ holding its support level? But still here, there's nothing really sticking out. Everything's about anything that does stick out is about 200, but there's a lot of 200s. So there's no reason to even have interest yet. We're about to hit the 7 a.m. news too. So at this moment, all I'm doing is observing. There's nothing really of interest, but the delta does start to appear soon. Okay, we hit a 300. Nothing crazy, but that's sticking out to me. At 74.36.25. Okay, now it's building up 400, 500. Now this is okay, this is becoming something. But we still have 7 a.m. news, so I'm not just gonna jump in just because I see an auction and a displacement. Like I have to be aware of the still. And the news is what causes it to break underneath the auction too. That's why I'm saying I don't want to just get long or because I see an auction when news is going to be released because news will like pull it underneath the auction and then after the news is when the reclaim happens. But this 500 delta is becoming larger here, 679 now. So now, if I see a displacement away, I'll count it. Like I'll consider it a displacement. But if price pulls back prior to news or right at 7 a.m., I'm not gonna enter it just because of the displacement. Like the 7 a.m. news is what's gonna stop me from entering this position. But now that I see that 600, I'm gonna mark it as a level to the 224. So 74.35 to 74.36 becomes my level of interest. Now I'm going to count how many points we're displacing. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. That's only 4 points right now. So there's still not a significant displacement yet. This is exactly how I'm thinking when this is appearing. Like as I see the push, I'm like calculating how many points it's displaced. So really, there's not even a reason for me to be emotional about what just happened because it was only 4 points. Now we're getting closer to 7 a.m. news, so it's just like, okay, this is probably going to just be noise what occurred right now. Fast forward. So here's the 7 a.m. news now. It's the 7 a.m. news. We break underneath the auction slowly. Let me slow that down. So I'm watching to see if we tap this or get into this daily demand zone. I know that we have this delta up here.
Hello?
Yo. Yo.
God damn, dude. My shit sucks. I think my internet sucks.
And now on this push up here,
We can hear you, Gabe.
I'm like, oh, I know we could hear
I
you.
know. I know. I just got back on.
Oh. So now it reclaimed the 7436 and we created the 700 delta again. So now I'm calculating again how many points are we pushing from this large number, the 700. What I am looking at right now is, are buyers showing that they want to push a higher high here to show progress? So they did make progress. That's interesting.
Are these just random trades?
No, this is the trade I took.
Oh.
So still no 6-point displacement. This is technically about 5 points, I guess. So if it came back to the auction range, I would consider it, mainly because we made a higher high and it's about 5 points. But it doesn't fully come back. It still pushes higher. All right, now we've officially hit, I believe that's 6 points. No, 43 is 6 points. Now now we got a 6-point displacement here. So we displaced the 6 points from 37 to 43. So now I'm waiting for the shallow pullback. Now we hit 7 points, 8 points. And now we're getting this pullback here. I'm aware that the 700 delta is still there. So I want to see acceptance. Look at CBD. CBD is curling up very aggressively. Now this is when I start to get ready.
Are you always this zoomed in?
Yeah, when it's coming down, I'll be like this because I want to see those buyers show their, like right here. I want to see buyers truly show that. I would have to get in there about like the 39s, but it, like I said earlier, because we did the screenshot of this, I got in aggressively here and I got filled at like the 41s. So if I would have got in here at the 39s, my stop would have had to be underneath 35s, probably even 34. So I'd have a 5-point stop, about 34.50. If I got in about 39.50, maybe even 39, a little lower. But I would be good holding this trade here. This is an aggressive entry because it never fully came down to it. So that's just something I'm cautious of here. we get the second pullback here. Now this one becomes an even better opportunity. Remember, my stop is underneath like the 3450s. Now I'm looking, say I never got in. Now I'm looking to see, do we accept above the 36s here? I like how we pulled back to the bottom. Now I want to see us get back above these 600 lots that are right here with aggression. See, and one major thing I was having issues with before was on this quick little pop that happened here, I was getting long. I would just be like, oh, it's trying to reclaim, let me get in. But that's not the strongest acceptance. You want to see that push above the auction that appeared there. Like that. Now I could get long. Set my stop underneath the 34s. See how this time it got like a strong push, slightly pulls back, holds, and then buyers start to push this with some momentum. So it's not just like it pokes its head. It's like it pops, quickly pulls back, and then on that next little sweep, you get in. Or the hold of that quick little pullback. As long as it's above that large number. And say waiting for another hold is kind of dangerous because it could take off without you. So that's why I don't really like to be too patient. Like as long as I see that pullback and then a aggressive reclaim above that large number, as long as we had that displacement away and it's at a higher time frame level, I'm comfortable getting in long like I just mentioned right now. But right now you're about to have another opportunity. So on this one, on this next pullback, that's even like stronger confirmation of acceptance, and you have to be in by here. I guess you don't have to, but I'd prefer to. But you're seeing that the buyers here, and look at CVD as all this is happening, it's pushing up pretty aggressively. So all this is telling us here, this pullback and this pullback is just stronger acceptance. But like I said, you're not always going to get this third chance here because you had one here, you had two here, and then you have three here. Sometimes you're not going to get that third chance. So that's why I like to be in more than likely on this kind of entry here. But whether I got in here, whether I got in here, whether I got in here, my stop is always going to be underneath the auction and I'm safe for the most part.
Damn, I want to trade already.
Right.
You're getting good at these lessons, Eric.
I just try to repeat what I repeat to myself. But this one ended up working super clean here. And then, like I said, at 300 here, this would be my target, 47s. But if there's no sign of selling, no reason to exit. There was no sign of selling there. The next level would be VWAP. 49s, which we just hit. I'd probably exit at VWAP more than anything. Where did I? I exited at 47. We're at that 300 delta that I mentioned. There was no reason to exit there. So I exited at the top of this, but just because it was 10 points. But that's basically it.
It's a good one.
Yes, sir.
Hell
That's all I really got. I mean, unless you guys got questions.
Nah,
nah, that's good.
answered them.
I mean, at least going into next week, I would say like back to what I had mentioned earlier is like just truly identifying what your mistakes are and be strict with yourself about that. Um, if you have to like journal your trade a little later to not be in the emotional state of taking those losses, do that. And that displacement is key to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna start labeling them like you guys do with all the actual parts of the setup, so I can see how they look
Yeah.
more accurately.
That shit will help. I feel like you did that with the outliers, the bubble outliers, and you started to catch on to those outliers a lot. But unfortunately, that wasn't the way for the strategy.
I know, dude.
Let's go
And it's
back.
crazy how much weight we put on limit orders, and now we don't even consider them anymore.
I know, I know.
It's insane.
But I think this is it. Dude, my trades, I've had more $50 wins than ever before with the setup.
So hopefully, we can all be successful with it.
Yeah, it'll
We need
happen.
those fucking steaks, man. I'm hungry. Yeah,
We'll start labeling charts.
yeah. I'm gonna do a bunch tomorrow for sure.
That you got any questions, Eloy?
Nah, I'm good.
For sure. Well, lock in.
For sure.
All right, you guys. Peace out.
All right,
Peace out, y'all.
I'm out.
See ya.
Peace.